programs and initiatives, talking about issues. And even though I'm here to introduce someone who will introduce someone else, I got to sing the praises of our local councilman because I have the utmost respect for Councilman Daniel Johnson. He is the epitome of a leader who balances the needs of the community with issues that are important, issues that are important not just to this particular community, but the entire city. And in addition, as I tell people, and I'm not hopefully stealing total thunder, as I tell people, in addition to his normal day-to-day responsibilities, he happened also to be the chair of the finance committee. And that's an important position. And so through his leadership and his advocacy, he represents all of us extremely well. The final thing I will say from a very selfish point of view, he is a big believer in libraries. He is a tremendous believer in libraries. This library and other libraries throughout Queens and New York City. So that is not my job today to bring him up, but I would be remiss if I did not do that. So I had the pleasure of meeting for the first time Elizabeth Liz Gaines. And she is the president and CEO of the Osborne Association. And I think the Osborne Association is well known at the cutting edge. We just had the most memorable discussion around the issues with incarceration and transition and what it means to society and the importance of all of us being aware and advocates around this particular issue. And I was indicating to Liz and to the councilman that just before I left our central office, we had a video visitation taking place. And for those who do not know, we at the library systems throughout the city, thanks to the council, have been doing video visitation, and it means so much to the people who are both inside as well as outside in the interaction with the public and just people in general. And to me, it just adds a high level of sensitivity. And the Osborne Association has been a forerunner in doing this. So it's my pleasure to bring to the floor Ms. Gaines, who will then take the next step and introduce you.
I will, thank you.
And a pleasure.
Thank you to Dennis Walcott, who may now be the head of the library, but has had many other wonderful jobs running the city in various ways, with a devotion to education that is really unmatched, I think. So Councilmember Drum has been a champion for children. I think you were an award-winning teacher and has brought his whole life to this work and has not only been a strong supporter generally for programs for children with frustrated parents, but this year, in something that I think is really super important, he moved forward and got a bill passed that will change forever the way that police behave when they arrest a person who has a dependent child. And that is the first moment that children have to deal with the challenge of incarceration. And for that, we're just extremely grateful. So it is my total pleasure to introduce your council member, Councilmember Dan Drum.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here, and I want to thank President Dennis Walcott again for, as he says, cutting-edge discussions, book readings, topics that we have held here in the Jackson Heights Library in particular. We did Drag Queen Story Hour, for example, in this library and Jackson Heights branch, and I'm very proud of that as well. And of course, he was my boss for many years when I was a teacher in the New York City Department of Education. So, and a great boss he was. So Dennis, thank you very much for being here, and thank you for always being committed to these types of projects. So
We're only missing the vocals.
Exactly. Thank you to Liz as well for all the work that you do with the Osborne Association, and to Tanya, my friend Tanya over there, who comes and visits me regularly to talk about legislation that would affect people who are currently incarcerated or those who are criminally, those who are justice involved in the system as well. Now, I was a New York City public school teacher for 25 years before I got elected to the city council, and oftentimes I would talk about Dr. Martin Luther King, and of course Dr. Martin Luther King was arrested at least 17 times, and that came up in his biography, and we would talk about it in the classroom, and inevitably 2 or 3 students would raise their hand and say, well, my father's in jail, you know, And I never knew really, how do I deal with that? What do I do? Is there a book that I could read to the kids? And all because a lot of the other kids would go, oh, your father's in jail. And they realized they said something maybe they shouldn't have said. And I didn't have that resource really to deal with it. And so today, you know, this is really fantastic. When I heard that you were coming and you were going to be doing an author talk and a reading, I think, on this topic, I said this is a really wonderful opportunity to introduce and to bring out something that I think we need to do in our school system. So I'm very proud to be here to be able to do this. And you know, we talked a little bit about my legislation to deal with arrest procedures for parents who are being arrested, but how do we deal with the children when they are with their parent at the time of arrest, and how do we take care of those children, and how do we explain that to those children? So that has been a big, you know, part of what I've done in the city council. But I'm also very proud of what we did around closed Rikers, which we did last week. And finally, it's
Whitney's Dr. Hollins' book will be available for sale afterwards, and she'll also be able to sign it and autograph it, as well as open it up for questions if you have questions for the office.
All right, so I want to say thank you, first of all, Mr. Walcott, Councilmember Drum, Osborne, Tanya. And one thing that I really want to stress, and I think that is super important, is how I got here, is this feeling of community and this space of community. And so I was looking up community today, and I was like, usually when we talk to the kids about community, we sort of talk about where they live and what's around them in their neighborhood, but also community has this feeling of fellowship with other people. And I think that's extremely important, because that feeling of fellowship is how I got here. It's how I met Tanya, it's how I met Liz, it's how I met Kiki, who is the author, illustrator, who's also here. And so, I'm just really grateful for the community that I already have, and I'm really grateful for meeting all of you and now hopefully being part of your community as well. So I'm going to do a read aloud, and then I'll answer questions after, and I hope I really rock this read aloud, because I've been a teacher for 10 years, and if I can't do a read aloud, it's going to look really bad. All right, so this is called Anna's Test. Friday was Anna's favorite day of the week. She usually hated it when her alarm went off, but today she just smiled. The sun was out, the weekend was close, Anna was feeling good. She had been studying all week for her spelling test, and today she was going to ace it. As she ran out of the door to catch the bus, her mother yelled, "Did you study?" "Of course," Anna yelled back. Even though she was in the 3rd grade, her mom still checked to make sure she did all her homework. She knows I would never forget to study for my spelling test, Anna thought to herself. On the bus, Olivia, her best friend since 1st grade, invited her to spend the night at her house. "I want to," said Anna, "but I have somewhere important to go early in the morning." Olivia nodded her head, slightly disappointed. She wondered where Anna went every Saturday, but she knew if Anna wanted to share, she would have. The day passed quickly, and as lunch approached, Anna got nervous. Her teacher, Miss Quinn, always gave the spelling test, 4th period, right before lunch. "Class, take out your pencils," Miss Quinn said in a clear voice. "It's time for our weekly spelling assessment." Here we go, Anna thought. She crossed her fingers for good luck and then took out her pencil. When it was time for dismissal, Anna could barely contain herself. She grabbed her folder to pack up. She wanted to look at her test, but Miss Quinn was rushing them to get their things together. "You're going to miss the bus," Miss Quinn said sternly. So Anna packed up her things and headed out the door. On the bus, she excitedly opened her red homework folder. Math worksheet, field trip reminder, spelling test. "What did you get?" asked Olivia. Anna smiled proudly and showed her the test, which had a bright red 100% written on the top. "Wow, that's so great," said Olivia. "Your mom will be so happy." At dinner, Anna told her mother about her spelling test. "I'm really proud of you," said Anna's mom. Anna smiled brightly. "I can't wait to tell Dad," she said. "He will be very proud of you too," said Anna's mom. After they cleaned the table, Anna got ready for bed. "Don't stay up too late," Anna said to her mom. "We have an early morning." Anna's mom smiled and turned off the light in Anna's bedroom. The next morning, bright and early, Anna and her mom jumped into their car and hit the road. It was about an hour drive to see her dad, and they had to be there on time. Anna fell asleep for a bit, and when she awoke, she saw the ugly gray building looking back at her. It made her happy and uncomfortable at the same time. As they walked in, Anna looked around. There were all kinds of people sitting in plastic chairs. The sound of the buzzer hurt her ears, and someone was saying something she couldn't understand over the intercom. She walked quickly with her mother to the deck. "We're here to see Joshua Green," her mother said quietly as she signed her name in the big book. Anna sat in anticipation as she waited for the intercom to call a familiar name. She watched as families came and went. She noticed the kids next to her were playing rock, paper, scissors, and she asked if she could join. Finally, after what seemed like forever, she heard "Joshua Green" over the loudspeakers. She knew what that meant. She said goodbye to her new friends and quickly followed her mom. Anna hated going through the metal detectors, but she knew it was what she had to do in order to see her dad. The officer working the metal detector smiled at her as she walked through. She was happy a nice guard was working today. Sometimes the people who work in the jail weren't so nice, and that made Anna not want to come back. Anna smiled back at him. She was given a stamp on her hand when she got to the other side of the detector. At least it seemed like a stamp. She could never actually see it, sort of like invisible ink. Anna and her mom sat down in more plastic chairs and waited. They were both quiet. Finally, Anna saw a familiar face. She stood up as her dad approached. She wasn't allowed to go to him, so she waited patiently as he walked over. When he was close enough, he gave her a big hug. He always hugged her first. Anna's mom and dad began to talk. It seemed like they were talking forever. How's the car? How's the house? Anna could barely get a word in. She looked at her parents while they were talking. Her dad looked the same, except he was starting to grow a new beard. Anna stared. She liked it. It made him look very sophisticated. "And how are you, miss?" her dad said in his deep voice. Anna liked it when he called her miss. It always made her feel more mature. "I'm fine," she said shyly. It usually took her a while to start talking during the visit. Eventually, she told her dad all about school. She told him how Andrick and Junior got into an argument about who was the better basketball player. She told him how the art teacher was out sick for a whole week because he had the flu. She even told him that because she was in 3rd grade now, she had to take state tests in order to go to the next grade. Her dad seemed to understand just how stressful that could be. Soon, Anna heard an announcement on the intercom. "Green, 5 minutes remaining." She hated that announcement. She knew that meant soon she would have to leave. Time always seemed to go fast when they were here. Her mom and dad were talking about something important when something important popped into Anna's mind. "Dad, I almost forgot to tell you something very important," Anna said, but no one seemed to be paying attention. "Dad," she tried again. Her mother gave her the stern look that she always gave her when she felt she was being rude. "Yes, miss," her dad said as he turned to her. He pretended not to notice just how annoyed her mom was. "I forgot to tell you about my spelling test. Remember how you used to help me study? Well, I've been studying all by myself, and this week I got a 100% on my test." She was smiling from ear to ear. "That's great," said her dad, and he stood up to give her a hug before he had to leave. He told her he was very proud of her before he turned to walk away. Anna felt happy and sad at the same time. She felt happy that she had made her dad smile. She was glad that he was proud of her. but she wished he didn't have to go back behind that door. She didn't know what happened back there. He seemed okay, but it always made her worry. She wanted her dad to come home with her. On the way home, Anna was silent. "Are you okay?" asked her mom.